Welcome to my video. For those who have been following my Instagram for the past few months, you'll know what I've been up to. Snippets here and there, that sort of thing. I'm sure you've all read the title of this video, so I'll go over the plan. 1. Design a Fakemon suitable for the Crown Tundra. 2. Build a 3D model for the Fakemon. 3. Create a 3D scene based off the DLC trailer. 4. Export the footage and add UI. 5. Post it on the internet. The programs we'll be using for this will be Maya with the Arnold renderer, and After Effects for adding the UI and compositing. Without further ado, let's get down to business. First, we design our fake Pokemon. After a few Instagram polls, we decided that our Fakemon would be based off of a Puffin. Out of the 3 concepts we came up with, you guys chose option number 3, the gesture-looking one. We quickly make a reference sheet with orthographic views, and then we can start the next step, which is 3D modeling. Jumping into Maya, we create a cube and smooth it. This is just my personal preference. I find it easier to model this way. We make some extrusions, shift the vertices around, and then I forgot to record. What I did was use the multi-cut tool to add more geometry, imported our reference sheet, and adjusted the vertices to fit with our design. Making changes to the topology, we make the model more suitable for deformation when animating. This will make it so the mesh will fold over itself and look nicer when moving.
Nice.
We make extrusions for the legs and wings, making tweaks to the topology as we go. The goal is to make the grid as evenly separated as possible, like a river, washing away all of my problems. And would you look at that? Our model is done. Time for UVs. For those of you who don't know, UVs are kind of like reverse papercraft. It's comparable to making a Minecraft skin, but for a model. Or stitching plushies together with sewing patterns. After the mapping is done, we export the UVs and jump into Procreate. Based off of our UVs, we paint on the textures, and after some back and forth, our Fakemon is looking pretty decent. Granted, some of the UV seams are rough around the edges, but it'll be okay for what we'll be doing. The next step we'll be doing is rigging. This is post-editing Tumble trying to briefly explain the basics of rigging, so I will be mentioning joints a lot, and they are the bones of a model that will determine where a limb will rotate or move. So elbows, knees, all of your fingers, spine, tails, so on and so forth. Controllers are what we use to drive a function on a joint. So let's say you rotate a controller that is constrained to a joint. The joint will rotate with it. We will also be using IK handles, which act kind of like a spring and are commonly used on knees and elbows. And lastly, we will be using pole vectors on the IK handles, which will be used to determine which way the elbow or knee will point. And that's the end of my rigging session. We can go back to the video now. We begin by placing joints for the legs and feet. We make an extra control joint chain for the feet, which will add more functionality to the rig, allowing the Fakemon to rise up on its feet and flex its toes. Then, we align our joint chain with the leg and mirror it over the axis. Next, we place a variety of IK handles onto our joint chain. After that, we paired the IK handles with the corresponding control joint chains. This will cause the knee to bend whenever we move the feet, and set up the framework for toe movement. Now it's time to place and set up constraints for our controls. These will make it easier to select the joints and set keys when animating. As a last step for the legs, we set up a pole vector constraint to act as a knee controller. We place a simple joint chain for the spine and create controllers for the hip and spine joints. Next, we make another joint chain for the lower tail and make a master controller using the connection editor. This will allow us to make broad strokes with the tail without having to select all of the individual controls. After that, we place controllers for our wings, the head tails, and the head. Sorry, I'm just getting flashbacks setting up the right wingtips individual controls. I tried making it multiple times and it kept breaking, so I put on a master controller instead and prayed that it worked. It didn't work properly, but it still functioned. It's fine. It's fine, no one will know. Except you guys, don't tell anyone. The next thing we did was make joints and controls for the jaw. And finally, our rig is done. On to paint weights. Just kidding, I forgot the elbow pole vector, so I added that. Now we bind the skin and paint weights. Paint weighting is assigning how much influence a joint has over a mesh. Just paint a nice even layer of influence. That's it. Just like that. There's no mistakes, just happy accidents. Lots and lots of accidents. When paint weighting is done, I pose the model a couple of times to make sure different parts of the mesh are assigned to the proper joints. I think I put one too many spine joints, so the body looks a bit wonky, but we'll work with it. This is going very well. And it just feels nice to see the finished model after all this time. All the hours of pain were worth it, I think. But now it's time for the part that I've been dreading. 3D animation. Now, let's just say I got a D in my animation class, and it shows. I barely know what I'm doing. Better suck it up and try anyway. I started by making keyframes for the hips, then the torso, the wings, head, and finally the tails. After that, I tried my best to add breakdown frames so I could move the keys into spline. Spline is when a program automatically does frames for you. It's a bit janky, but it's a lot better than my first 3D animation attempt, so we good. It's at this point I began to realize it's moving too much to be considered a Pokémon animation. But it took me so long to make it. We're gonna use it anyway. Okay, now it's time to make the environment. I've never made an environment in 3D before, so we're tackling this head on. I know that I'm not gonna be able to recreate the hail in Pokemon battles, so that means the setting must be covered in some way. I was thinking something like an ice cave or ruins would be suitable for our Pokemon. We start by creating a glass plane and importing an HDRI for our Skydome light. Using my pre-made water node, we use it to create displacement and mimic the waves in Sword and Shield. We'll animate this when we're closer to rendering, but for now, we tweak it until it looks decent. We make a platform for our puffin and sculpt a plane into something that could look like a snow cave. We quickly sculpt some pillars that could be used to decorate the scene, going for an ice cave ruins sort of look. Looking at a few tutorials online, we make some procedural snow textures and icicles. Next, we make a toon shader to replicate Pokemon's shading style. It could look a lot better, but we've got 3 weeks left until the DLC drops, so we've gotta get to rendering. We set up a few cameras and animate them to simulate the Pokemon battle cams. We lead with 2 separate renders, a slow zoom in and a left to right pan. While those are rendering, we take multiple screenshots from Sword and Shield and Photoshop them to extract the battle UI. Finding out the font used in the UI, I think of a name on the spot and place it in the top Pokemon slot. Using After Effects, we composite our renders and UI together. As a finishing touch, we add music. Taking that footage, we upload it as an unlisted video on YouTube. Then we download YouTube for the Switch, and then we film that Switch on a phone, and then put that phone, well, on the internet. Oh my god guys, my dad works for Nintendo and he got me a copy. Now we post it on 4chan so we can remain anonymous. Then we post on Twitter a few months later for funsies. If I kept the final renders, I could have taken the battle UI from the new Pokémon trailers and passed it off as something from the new games, but I needed the disk space. It's getting dangerously low. Anyways, I personally learned a lot from this experience, and I hope you guys did too. If any of you know why things were breaking or how I could improve, let me know. I'm still very much a novice at 3D stuff, and I'd like to learn more. So, if you like this video, make sure you don't like it, don't subscribe, don't comment, don't hit the notification bell, don't share it with your friends, don't retweet, revlog, just don't do anything. And I hope you all have a great day.